Everybody ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Welcome to our live chat with the Dialysis Association. The Dialysis Association is a new association, newly formed, and we took the opportunity to speak to them about the different things that we need to know about kidney disease. I'm very excited tonight because this is the first time Dominica has an association kit just for this. And so we have the association executives with us this evening to speak to us about the kidney disease. So first, let me introduce myself. I am Laurie Henderson-Reed from the Central Co-operative Credit Union Limited. And part of our 15th anniversary celebration is to target different things every month that will help our members learn and help our members remain educated about their health, about their wealth, about everything. So September is our Health and Wellness Month. And so we are here with the Dialysis Association. So let me allow everyone to introduce themselves. Let us begin with Eliza Francis Loda.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here with us so that we can educate each and every one of you about the dialysis and the Dialysis Association and kidney disease. I am Eliza Francis Loda, registered nurse by profession, and also the assistant treasurer at the Dialysis Committee. Dialysis Association, sorry.
Thank you, Eliza. Now we will ask the Vice President himself, Mr. Herman Gies, to tell us more about himself.
Good evening to all. Thank you very much for joining us this evening to educate you about kidney disease and our association. My name is Herman Gies. I am a dialysis patient. I am the Vice President of the association. And I hope that at the end of this evening, you will be better informed of things you can do to prevent you from ending up on dialysis. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Herman Gies. And now we have Janelle Collier, who is Assistant Secretary of the Dialysis Association.
Good night, everybody, and welcome again. As she said, I am Janelle Collier, Assistant Secretary. I'm also a dialysis nurse working at the dialysis unit at the Dominica China Friendship Hospital. I hope this program will be very informative to everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us. And now we'll take a quick break before we begin our discussion this evening as we educate the listeners and followers of Central, MO News, and our YouTube channel about dialysis. Central is online.
Central is online.
What? Central is online?
Granny, Central is online.
Central is online.
Central Online, your digital member experience. Stay on top of your finances with Central Online today. View your account balances, pay your bills, apply for loans, do money transfer with Central Online today.
Central is online.
Central is online, that's great.
Central is online.
Central Co-operative Credit Union Limited is online. Central is online. Welcome to Central Online, your digital member experience. Go to online.myccul.com. To log in, enter login ID and password. Click I am not a robot and log in. To transfer funds within your account, click Transfer Fund. To transfer to another member, click Member to Member Transfer. To pay a bill, click Bill Payment. To apply for loans, click Loan Application. Need more information? Click the FAQs link or call 235-2228 or 235-5208 or email us online@myccul.com. Welcome back. Again, we're chatting with the Dialysis Association this evening. So we're going to dive right into the questions because we have so many unanswered questions as it relates to dialysis. And now we have a panel of people who are so well versed and well knowledgeable who can answer all our questions. So our first question is, what is renal disease? What is renal disease?
Okay, so renal disease, also known as kidney disease, what happens is a gradual loss of kidney function until it reaches an advanced stage where the kidneys are no longer used or be able to take on its normal function in the body. So it's like complete loss of kidney disease, but after a moment of time, gradually.
What causes that to happen? What really causes the renal disease to happen?
With renal disease, there are many causes. Two of the most common causes, as we know, is diabetes and high blood pressure. We have also other diseases like heart diseases. We have smoking or alcohol intake. We also have a family history can also cause that if you have family history of renal or kidney disease. Also abnormal kidney structure, like sometimes being born with kidney abnormality.
Okay. And how do you know that you have renal disease? What are the signs and symptoms that would make you wonder or that would help you to know this is what's happening to you?
Well, there are many signs and symptoms of renal disease, and some of which of them are weight loss. You will have swollen ankles, your feet will be swollen, your hands may be swollen, and this is because of a result of fluid retention in your body, which is also called edema. You may have shortness of breath, you may be tired, you may see blood in your urine sometimes, and also you may have an increased need to urinate, particularly at night. Some patients have difficulty sleeping, they have itchy skins, and even foamy urine.
Scary. This is informative but scary. It really is. So what gender and age group are more affected by kidney disease? Is there a gender that's more affected by it, or is there an age group, or tell us more about that.
We have the gender which are more affected by kidney disease are men. Most men are affected by kidney disease because they tend to ignore their health, we would say, or they'll be afraid to go to get a checkup. Or even when they do go for a checkup, you may inform them that they have diabetes or they have high blood pressure, and they would ignore the fact, you understand, and continue living their life as they normally do. Sometimes you would prescribe medication for them, and they would avoid using the medication, saying they don't need it, and then until their blood pressure is elevated and it is too high, they get sick and they end up in the hospital, and then they are being checked, and most times also they live an unhealthy lifestyle. This is leading to a higher risk of kidney failure in men, and most times we don't have a set age group, but men in their late 40s, 50s, although we have a few young individuals and elderly patients, but these are the group being affected the most, and yes, that's it.
Okay. So now that we understand what renal disease is, how many stages of renal disease are there?
Well, there are 5 stages of renal disease. And in the 5th stage, that is when you would need a dialysis treatment. So the stages are all based on the urine output, or what we'll call the glomerular filtration rate. So stage 1 with a normal or high filtration rate of 90 mils per minute. I don't know if you understand. You understand the terminology?
Yeah, I do. But remember, not everybody does. So we have to speak
Yes.
to
So it's urine output. It's all about urine output and the filtration rate, or well your kidneys are able to filter all the toxins and electrolytes and water. So there comes a time where there's little to no urine output.
Wow. Okay. Now that you mentioned dialysis, which is the explanation of the renal disease, brought us to the dialysis part. So now it begins to make sense for those of us who do not know about the disease. It begins to make sense and it links the two together. What are the types of dialysis treatment?
Currently, we have there are 2 types of dialysis treatment. We have hemodialysis and peritoneal dialysis. Hemodialysis is treatment to filter the waste and the water from the blood in the kidneys, and when it is unable to do so, this is used by a catheter, by a fistula and a catheter. Also, peritoneal dialysis is treatment used to remove excess fluid, toxins, correct electrolyte balance in the body, and this is done by a person's inner lining of the abdomen, which is called the peritoneum.
Okay. So why did Dominica choose hemodialysis, and where is the dialysis unit located?
The dialysis unit is located currently at the 3rd floor of the Dominica China Friendship Hospital, and hemodialysis tend to be safer. Patients are more able to be monitored due to the fact that it's being done in a hospital setting. Unlike the peritoneal dialysis, it will be done at your home. Also, the infection rate is much lower with hemodialysis as in peritoneal dialysis. The risk for infection is higher with peritoneal dialysis as you deal with the lining of the abdomen.
Okay, so it is safer to do the hemodialysis.
Yes.
And I totally understand and I totally agree, because when you have diseases, it's best that you're treated with the equipment and the presence of people who know what to expect and how to help you to remain safe and alive.
Yes.
So how many patients are currently on dialysis at the hospital, and how many are in waiting or in the 4th stage of kidney failure?
Well, currently here we have 37 patients on the dialysis unit and who are receiving dialysis, and we have 12 pending. However, these are those we know about. We have other patients who are sick and who will come in as emergency patients where they will need dialysis.
Okay. Oh, understand. So when you say 12 pending, what does that really, is it because, tell us more. Is it because there's not enough equipment? Tell us more about that.
The 12 pending is, as we said earlier, there are 5 stages. and we begin dialysis at the 5th stage. So these patients may be at the 3rd stage, at the 2nd stage, 3rd stage, so they are not necessarily required to be on the machine as yet. So they are being monitored.
Okay,
Yes.
understood. Okay. All right. So how many dialysis machines are in the unit?
At the unit presently, we have 9 machines.
And is that enough to accommodate the number of patients that you currently have to monitor and care for?
Well, we have a shift system where some will come in the morning and some will come in the afternoon so that they can complete their session. We make use of the 9 machines that we have so that everybody will get dialyzed and we'll be happy at that.
Okay, that's good. You make use of what you have, and
Yes.
so all the patients are taken care of.
Yes.
How accessible and affordable is the hemodialysis treatment in Dominica?
Come on.
Yes, Mr. Geese, help us out here. You've been quiet the whole evening. Tell us. Tell us how
Okay,
accessible and affordable it is.
First of all, dialysis is very expensive. It's a very expensive venture. And if someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it's the most expensive ward right now at the hospital because you have to dispose of the dialyzers after every session. So therefore, you gotta buy a new tubing, new dialyzer, everything after every session. Because once somebody uses it, it's no good. It's like a used up kidney, the artificial kidney. So therefore, it costs about $150 per session, per person. And
Wow.
I think we lost Mr. Human.
Yes. Uh-oh.
it also have patients coming on
He's back.
Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. So this is how we are able to dialyze. This is something patients with 9 machines, with the shift system and skipping a day of each. It's only on Sundays the nurses get to rest really, because the whole week we gotta be cleaning up from all the toxicity that builds up through just eating normal foods. Even if you're on diet, once your kidneys fail, you find that the function of the kidney, the role the kidney plays in the body diminishes, and therefore you would need dialysis for so many things more than just toxin. The kidney does a lot more than just toxin. The kidney is responsible for hormones such as the hormone responsible for red blood cell production that sends a message to the bone marrow to make red blood cells. So you find people who have kidney failure usually have low blood count, and that makes you breathless because oxygen is not getting to the muscles and so on. You also have the kidneys responsible for excess water. So that's why patients swell up, because the water they drink, the juice, the sauce, anything you drink, if you're not urinating, it stays in and it builds up over time. So dialysis is responsible for that as well. And of course, you also have to remove all the toxins, the excess phosphate and potassium and so on that you get from the foods. So the kidneys is very important. So when that happens, you find that the patients would need to come and dialyze 3 times a week, and it's very expensive. But fortunately, right now, the government, thanks to the government of Dominica, most patients are evaluated based on their financials, and they don't really pay for dialysis. Some seek assistance through the welfare to get a waiver of payments. Also, some have insurance. So usually the government or the hospital bills the insurance. For example, in my case, I'm a police officer. So the insurance pays for my treatment. But the government only charges 150 EC per session, whereas it really costs 150 US. So we still get a significant discount. So we are very grateful for that. And we hope that it can continue.
So the government is actually absorbing some of the costs just to ensure that everybody gets the treatment. And that is very, very good, because we know that the economy is not the best and not everybody can afford And once you're sick and you need treatment, you need treatment. Your financial situation does not mean you don't need treatment. So this is good. And I really, really hope that the people listening, those of you who fit the symptoms and you have the signs of renal disease, I urge you to go up to the dialysis unit, go to the hospital to be assessed, and so that you would have to get to the stage where it's very unbearable for you, and help is going to cost you so much money. When is dialysis treatment clinically needed by someone? When do you, well, you said it earlier at stage 5, but when do you feel that, yes, I need to go? But how do you really feel when you are experiencing this stage of the disease?
Well, as Nurse Francis Loader said earlier, the symptoms, you can go back to the symptoms: the swelling in the hands and the feet, the itchy skin. First of all, if I usually pee, let's say, as an example, 5 times a day, and a day goes by, 24 hours goes by, and I have no urine, that's a cause for concern. You would run to the doctor to find out what's happening. If I'm peeing and I see foam in my urine, I would want to know what's going on. You understand? So any of these symptoms is called that you visit your doctor or your health center.
Okay. So tell us about the prescription. What does the dialysis prescription entail?
Okay, well, the dialysis prescription entails, as Hormone was saying, how many days that you get dialyzed. So most patients go for 2 days, some go for 3 days, 3 days. We have some that go for 2 hours, 3 hours, and even 4 hours. In Mr. Homer's case, I know he don't mind, he goes for 4 hours. So it all depends on the doctor's assessment of the patient, your blood work, your results, and she assessed and she see, okay, Hormone is getting a better cleaning with 4 hours, so I'm gonna put Hormone on 4 hours for 3 times a week. Also, she also determined how much fluid that is removed from the patient's body. So there is what we call a dry weight, which is the patient's original weight. And with kidney failure, as Nurse Francis Loader just said, that when you drink the fluids, you get swollen. So the fluid stays on, and with excess fluid, your weight goes up. So based on that, you have a dry weight. So when you come to that, before you get dialyzed, we weigh you. So we minus, let's say you can put on, if you're 100, usually 100 kilos, when you come in, you weigh 1 or 2, we have to minus that 2 from you. So that's how we determine how much we take out. So the prescription involves your time on that machine, how many times a week, and how much of the fluid that we take out.
Thank you. Okay, so walk us through the process. I guess maybe Mr. Gis can tell us a little bit about it. I don't know if we're being intrusive by that question.
That's okay.
Tell us more about it, how is the body accessed? How is it attached to the machine? Tell us more, because we do not know and we are trying to understand how this is really done.
Okay, well, there are 2 ways to get attached to the machine. For patients who are emergency patients or patients who have just started dialysis, especially patients who, like the nurses were explaining, some patients come emergency. So a patient that, like, for example, one of the patients on the 12 patients on the waiting list would have time to have a surgery done called a fistula, which is below the surface of the skin, where you attach a vein and an artery together. That is to create adequate blood flow, or to increase the blood flow in that region, just below the skin surface, where a needle is inserted, and therefore you can circulate the blood through the machine. The thing is, the machine has a certain quantity of blood, a certain blood flow that has to be maintained, and therefore a vein it will collapse. The vein is too small to withstand the flow. Therefore, you usually try to get to an artery, or you do the fistula. So in the absence of the fistula, what the doctor will do is insert a tube down, most likely by the neck, or in search of a major artery with adequate blood flow to dialyze you. But this is usually on in emergency cases or in cases where the patient is awaiting finances or waiting for the fistula to heal, because the fistula takes about 2 months to properly mature before you can start to use it. So right now, the two main access points at the hospital are catheter and through the fistula. And now a patient will come in, and the first thing you will do is weigh. So you will check your weight, because as the nurses explained, due to the fact that you're not urinating, or you are urinating less, because it's a gradual process where your kidney functions decline over time. So most times doctor will start you on dialysis, and then you will start at stage 4. And as you go down to stage 5, and until the kidney there's no more urine coming out at all. So usually you'll find that patients have to weigh to find out how much excess fluid they come with. So for example, a normal person who is not on dialysis weighs 65 kilograms. A person on dialysis will weigh 65 kilograms after they have been cleaned. When they go home and they drink and they eat, they will come back at 60, maybe 67, 68 kilograms. Therefore, you are aware that they have 2 or 3 kilograms extra from their normal weight. That is how you calculate what amount of water you would have to remove, or liquid you would have to remove with the machine. So therefore you weigh, and this is access that and let you know how much they're going to take out. Then they hook you up to the machine. If you have a catheter, your catheter usually has two pots, which is one pot to take the blood, circulate it through the machine, and then the blood comes back. This happens instantaneously. So as blood leaves, blood comes back. Remember, you cannot take out only blood in the body, you will die. So you have this blood circulating through these 2 pots. So people who are fistulas, there are 2 needles. You get 2 pricks on 2 areas on the fistula, where one takes the blood from your body, passes it through the machine, and the other one brings it back. Now the machine is an artificial kidney. Okay, it is comprised of tubing, which takes the blood, and it goes through a process for monitoring. The machine has calibrated sensors that can monitor if for example, if your pressure go too high, if you crash in and stuff like that. So it has certain sensors on the machine, and then there's a dialyzer. The dialyzer now is responsible for filtering the blood. And what happens is there is a mixture of acid and bicarbonate that goes into the dialyzer, which is a canister. It's like a cylinder with tubing, very, very tiny tubules. And the blood goes into the tubes, and on the outside of the tubes, you have the acid and bicarbonate fluid. What that causes is the process of diffusion, for those who are science geeks like me. Diffusion, whereby the particles in your blood go from an area of high concentration to an area of low concentration in the acid and bicarbonate. So you find that excess toxins, excess minerals, excess ions, excess metals in your blood goes into the acid and the bicarb mix, and then it gets flushed out. So you gotta sit for at least, some patients take 2.5 hours, some patients take up to 4 hours, like myself. So that process goes on. And in the process, it also takes out excess water based on the amount that you set it to remove. However, because it's an artificial kidney, it is not as efficient as the human body. So you find that it removes a little more than what it's supposed to. And also because your kidneys are not functioning, like I mentioned earlier, the kidney has more function than just to take out toxin. There are some hormones that have to be created and so on. So we find that kidney patients have to be given supplements of stuff like calcium and so on to build back the body, because the machine does give you a run for your money. Trust me. So some supplements are required, but generally speaking, it's a very effective, efficient process. And if you come for your session on time and you do what you're supposed to do, you live a very active lifestyle. Almost some days you'll feel like you're not even sick. So I for example, I sometimes come from work, I dialyze, sometimes I dialyze and I go to. So it's a very efficient process.
I think you scared some people. I think you scared me. I would not lie. Just the blood going in and my goodness. You are such a strong, you're a hero. And thank you for sharing your story with us, because you're making it so personal, because you're telling us about your experience. And so we can make it relatable to what is really happening. It's a little scary, but it's very informative. So what advice, or how would you advise patients who care for their venous catheter and the arteriovenous fistula? I don't know if I'm saying it correctly, because I have, let me see again.
Oh.
You can just say AV fistula.
Oh, thank you. Okay, your AV fistula and your venous catheter. How do you advise patients how to care for this, as important as it is to their health at this time?
Well, personal experience again. With the catheter, oh boy, catheter is a lot of stress. That is why the fistula is the preferred version to use to access, because the catheter is supposed to be for emergency procedures and a temporary fix while you get a fistula, because the catheter puts you at a much higher risk of infection and complications, because you have a foreign body there. When they put the tube in you, it stays in you. So it gets infected. You have to try to keep the area dry at all times. You cannot wet it at all. You try not to sweat too much, and you try to keep it away from the elements, because when it gets infected, remember, this thing goes straight into your arteries. Once it gets infected, the infection spreads rapidly, and you get chills, you shiver a lot because of the infection, and you'll have to undergo a very severe treatment of antibiotics to clear up the.
I think his internet is a little shaky.
Okay, I think what he was trying to say is the antibiotics treatment that the patients undergo when
20
they.
minutes after, I can take out the tip, and then it's sealed off. It's sealed off. So this is what it means to have the difference between the catheter and the fistula, and this is how we would try to keep it safe. The fistula has one issue in that you are not supposed to lift up heavy weight with the arm on which you have the fistula. And also too, you're not supposed to take stuff like your blood pressure on that arm, because it might cause the fistula to fail. Also too, you have to be careful for blood clots, because a lot of patients have had to put another fistula due to blood clots in the fistula. So these are the different things that you have to guard against when you have fistula and catheter.
This is very informative and again a bit scary. Thank you for that, Mr. Gies. You make it so relatable. You make it so relatable to your own situation. So what are the side effects of hemodialysis treatment? How do you feel after treatment?
After hemodialysis, there are tough days. One of the things that happens to many patients on dialysis is a fluctuation in their blood pressure. A fluctuation in the blood pressure due to the fact that, again, it's an artificial kidney. So you find that sodium gets removed during the process. Sodium is one of the ions that will jump across through diffusion from your blood into the acid bicarbonate mix and will get cleaned up, which is a good thing. However, because it's a machine, you got to monitor it and regulate it and ensure that too much salt is not removed, or else the pressure will drop significantly. Another complication that can cause the pressure to drop again, or even the sugar to drop as well, some patients who are diabetic and so on, is fluid. If you remove too much fluid too quick from the body, you get dehydrated. So if you miscalculate your dry weight, for example, or if you gain weight, because this has happened to patients who, let's say your dry weight is 65, but you gain half a kilogram, and then you take out as if you did not gain weight, you will cramp. You will cramp up, and then your pressure might drop because you took out too much water. So this is some of the things that might happen to you that might cause you to feel sick, cause you to feel lightheaded, cause you to feel cramping, a lot of cramping in the hands and feet and so on, if you did not do a proper session. Also, too, some patients, I'll say it. some patients have other complications besides kidney failure. So that is a factor as well that the doctor has to consider, and therefore may have to decrease the flow of blood, that is the pump speed, how fast you can clean the body, and determine, like some people who have heart condition and so on, you have to calibrate the machine so that you don't, the flow of blood is not too hard and too much work on the heart. So these are all things that can cause you to feel, a little lightheaded and so on after a dialysis session.
HB,
But, yes.
You can talk about the erythropoietin, epogen.
Oh yes, the epogen. The epogen is, like I mentioned earlier, the kidney is responsible for the hormone that sends the signal to the bone marrow to make red blood cells. So when your kidney has failed, that no longer happens. Therefore, you have to artificially take in this hormone. We call it epogen. So you take this to create the same effect, to send message to the bone marrow to make blood, basically. So a patient on dialysis has to be on epogen, and it varies based on the level of your red blood cell count. So usually we do frequent blood tests to monitor all these things so the doctor can calibrate your dosage of epogen.
Thank you for that, Herman. Now that you have, or now that you're on the dialysis, you have the kidney disease, what changes did you have to make to your diet? Or what changes should a patient with kidney failure make to their diet? And why are those changes important?
Well, the kidney is responsible for filtration and removal of toxins. All food have toxins. Some foods have higher level of certain toxins than others. But you must eat, because if you don't eat, you will die. Therefore, the diet you would have to maintain as a dialysis patient would be foods that are low in toxins, I won't say low in toxins, but I would say foods that are low in certain
Electrolytes.
Now, if your kidneys are working fine, you don't have to worry about that because your kidneys will filter out the excess. So they are not toxin in terms of they are bad for you. They are toxins in terms of excess in your body will cause an imbalance, and then that will be bad for you because the kidney is very vital to the balance of pH, the balance of all these things in your body. So when your kidney no longer functions, you cannot eat too much, for example, pawpaw or jelly and those things there because they are high in potassium. Banana is very high in potassium. You find that mango and cheese and milk are very high in phosphates. So you find that you have to limit your intake of these foods and try to manage your fluid intake as well, because excess of water. I have known patients who have felt like they're drowning because the fluid builds up in your lungs and you cannot sleep. When you go to lie at night, you got to put extra pillows behind your head. So you got to sleep elevated because your lungs are filling up with fluid. So even water, which is life, can kill you on dialysis. So your diet will entail low salt, low potassium, low phosphate foods, low fat, of course. You would have to, some of the patients have other complications such as diabetes. Seeing that diabetes and high blood pressure are the two main causes of kidney failure, or it starts, then you find that a lot of patients who find themselves on dialysis have these complications as well. So the diet for them would usually entail low sugar, low salt, and all these things, because in addition to the diet, patients are required to take in a lot of supplements due to the fact that one, the kidney is no longer functioning, and two, the dialyzer takes out a lot of these nutrients that you may need. So we gotta take calcium tablets every day. We take folic acid. We take alpha calcitol. We take B complex. B complex is essential for nerve health, because usually you find on dialysis, especially those who have sugar, diabetes, you find that they have a lot of nerve damage. So B complex is used to help counteract that. Some patients like myself use phosphate binders. Phosphate binders are like TOMs and antacids. They assist in terms of excess phosphate in your body. So if you eat something high in phosphate, like milk and so on, you can take it, and what it does, it binds. It binds with the phosphate before it gets absorbed into the bloodstreams, and it can pass out as stool. So some of us use phosphate binders. And those who have pre-existing conditions such as high blood pressure have to take their pressure medication. Those who have heart condition have some medication they take for that. So it depends. But the basic ones, like I say, are mainly supplements that you got to take to complement the dialysis process so that your body can be well balanced.
Come on, don't forget the aspirin.
Oh yes,
and the importance of it.
Aspirin is very important for preventing clots, blood clots. Because like I explained earlier, the ports of access are either fistula or catheter. And because of the tiny tubing or the tiny needle that we use, blood clots is a prevalent problem that will prevent you from being able to dialyze. I have seen patients lose their blood because if you're dialyzing and all your blood is going through the tubing and then you get a clot, the nurse cannot send that blood back inside you. And sometimes the clot is so bad that the blood doesn't flow at all. Even if you add saline to it to try to thin it out. So then you find that you might just have to throw that blood and get a whole new tubing and dialyzer to get hooked up again. So we take aspirin to keep the blood thin so it can flow through the process of dialysis. I personally have moved a bit away from aspirin, and I use ginger in my diet. I have incorporated ginger as a tea I drink almost every night, and that helps me to thin the blood naturally. But aspirin is a very good medication for that.
I just learned something. I did not know ginger was that effective. I love ginger tea, but I didn't know that it is helping me in such a way. It's also beneficial. So thank you for that, Hormone. You learn something new every day. And I learned something, that my ginger tea has been doing for me. And I thank my ginger tea for that. No, I feel, Hormone, I know you're the patient here, so I think I want to ask you all my questions. And
We are fine with that. We are totally fine with that.
Well, that's okay. Because
What I
he's,
wanted to ask him is how, has this affected him mentally? Have the other patients that he see at the dialysis ward going through this, how are they mentally? Are they sound? Are they,
Okay,
and nurses, you can also
well,
tell me, what do you see every day?
if I may give you a small history, if you have time.
And we have time. We have time. Tell us.
Well, I have been through more than just dialysis. I was in Cuba. I'm a chemical engineer. I'm a police officer, but I'm also a chemical engineer.
How many
I got my
things are
degree
you
in Cuba.
doing, Harmon? How many things are you doing?
Very ambitious. That is why I'm able to explain this thing scientifically, because that's my background. So
Okay.
I was studying in Cuba, I think in 2011, and my kidneys failed. And doctors in Cuba mentioned dialysis to me. And I can tell you, I was 26. I was not having it. I was not having it. I did not have a mental breakdown, but I can tell you, I was very much against dialysis. And I went as far as saying, yes, I died. I tell you, it's not news that you want to get when you're in the middle of your career, studying to be a chemical engineer, thinking of your future, thinking about what you're going to do, blah, blah, and then tell your kidneys fail. So that was a shock, a hard blow for me to accept, a hard deal. Fortunately, very fortunately, I was a police officer before I went to study. So I took study leave. Therefore, I was still insured and all that stuff. So the government of Dominica was very gracious in assisting me to get a kidney transplant. It was very costly, I must say, very, very costly. Very costly. And my father was compatible, so my father gave me a kidney. It lasted, I did it Trinidad and Tobago, that lasted 5 years. And right about the time of Maria, the kidneys failed, the transplanted kidneys failed. And then I went to Trinidad again to check up on it to find out exactly what was going on. And then Maria hit that same weekend. So I passed Maria in Trinidad. And so because of Maria, I had to stay in Trinidad for like 3 months, dialyzing up and so on. And then I came back to Dominica. And so the second time when my kidney failed, it was, easier to accept. And
yes.
I of course, having kidney failure and getting a transplant, I was still investigating and starting to do my research on dialysis. And I got more familiar with the process, and I get more, I learned to accept that if my kidneys fail, I would have to end up on dialysis. And for my family's sake, for my sake, this is something I would have to do. And so I was not able to receive the dialysis the second time around. However, I can say that it is not an easy thing, especially for the young patients, because the older patients, some of the older patients themselves, some days they come and they say they just don't feel like coming to dialysis because, it's tasking mentally. You gotta come 3 times a week, and I do dialysis for 3.5 to 4 hours. So you can imagine finishing work and wanting to go home, but you have to pass and dialyze before you go home. Sit down on a machine for 3 or 4 hours. It is taxing mentally, and therefore you will find that the hospital has always sent patients who are diagnosed with chronic kidney failure and require dialysis to the committee, and also they send you for a psych evaluation to assist you in mentally accepting the dialysis, and so to assist you in being able to cope, to give you coping mechanisms so that you are able to try to be as efficient as possible and to live a normal life, and let you know that dialysis is not the end of everything. It is just a treatment. And if you're on dialysis and you take your treatment, you will be like any other person who has a condition. You'll not be sick. You'll be like a person with a condition. It's like people who have high blood pressure and diabetes go to work and take their tablet and watch a little diet and go to work. I do the same thing. I'm a dialysis patient, but I go to work, I function, I go out. I have a son, 7-year-old son, I have a wife. I live pretty much a normal life. Other people don't believe I'm on dialysis. But you see, mentally, you have to be strong. Mentally, you have to be strong. to be able to accept it, first of all, and then you were able to stick to the diet, you're able to show up for your session, you're able to help get your family and so on board, because sometimes you might need the support, might need a ride to dialysis, sometimes if you're not feeling well, you might need, you know, all this extra support that you will need in your realm, because not only your life, but everybody around you gets affected by it, you know, with the diet and all that. So it takes a toll on the entire family and your friends and stuff. So everybody has to be, you know, on board.
So it's a team effort, it's a family effort.
Yes.
It is.
It's a family effort.
Yes.
And I'm seeing Janelle and Eliza are so proud of you. You should look at the way they look at you when you're speaking. They are so proud of you, Haman. They are very proud.
Yes, we are.
Nurses, would you like to add anything else as it relates to the mental health of the patient?
Well, one said it all, but honestly, in being a dialysis patient, it can affect one's life mentally. Because to know that you live in your life out there, normal, you don't have anything, and then for one day to be told that, hey, your kidneys no longer function, you have to be on dialysis for the rest of your life. That alone is a shock to you, and it will end right there. So we have to accept, the patients have to accept that the process, that we have to explain to them how important it is, because if they don't take it, when they reach stage 5, they will eventually die. And if you're a young person and you don't want to die so fast, as he said, that he's living a normal life with his wife and his son, so that is the education of the patient. When we educate them, they become more comfortable in accepting. They have to accept. If they don't accept, then they will not be able to function properly. And as he said earlier, the family support is very important, because if you don't have family support, the process will be even harder for you. There are days that you may not be employed, you understand? Although you can, but the patients, the elderly patients, they need the support. They need financial support. They need spiritual support. If it's not that, they will not make it through it. So trust me mentally, and before they get admitted to the dialysis unit for dialysis, the doctor usually give them a psych referral, refer them to the psych to help them to understand what it is that their body is going to be undertaking, and their whole family, because you have to change your whole lifestyle, you have to change your eating, you have to change mostly everything to fit the dialysis criteria for your body. And to be having to come to dialysis unit 3 times a week, it is tasking. So honestly, they have to be prepared mentally, and family members. I am saying it out there to those of you who have relatives on dialysis. You have to support your relative, help them, because they need it and they really need your support all the time. May you bring them to dialysis, help them to go back to their home. Whatever support you can provide for them, they need it. Honestly, they need it.
Yeah. And as she was saying, as Eliza was saying about the referral before being admitted to dialysis, before commencement, even during, if we notice that our patients are going through something mentally, a doctor do refer them to the psych unit, because sometimes you might accept it, and on the way, you know, something flips in your mind and you cannot go on any longer. So that is very important. The support is very important, even with the daily cares of the elderly patients, not only financially, but also the daily cares, assisting them to bathe and all these kind of things, providing meals for them, you know, that can go a long way.
Yes,
Okay. Well, it's really a team effort. Your family needs to be involved, and the support is very important to be a dialysis patient. So how active can a dialysis patient be? Can a dialysis patient be in football, basketball, cricket? Can they be swimming? I mean, how active can someone who is on dialysis be?
Speaking for myself, swimming, I take my son to the beach all the time to Sufre, and we swim Right, I'm trying to teach him to swim, and yeah, I take my son out all the time. I have vegetables. I plant my vegetables. I just sowed cucumber seeds yesterday, cleaned and sowed cucumber seeds and digged up my beds. I have tomatoes planted. I live at Bellevue Chopin, so we always have rainfall, so it's very good for agriculture. I got relocated from P7. I'm on P7, so I got relocated here. So I got a house, thank God. So I live a very normal lifestyle, really, literally. I just try not to lift up too much load with the fistula arm. I think I limit it to less than 15, 20 pounds.
It's 10 pounds.
And
10
I-
pounds. You're supposed to lift in 10
I
pounds.
stretch it.
You see
But I'm
how
very
you
active.
see how your
I'm
nurses
very
manage your
active.
business? You see how your
I'm
nurses
very
manage your
active.
business tonight?
Yes, they did. I'm very active. So what else you asked about again? Sports. Yeah, you can play sports. You can play sports. You only have to make sure you don't get a blow, like a hard blows on the fistula arm. So you just try
Okay.
to shield it, you know. But yeah, you can play sports, basketball, and so on, and you know, you can wear a sleeve. We got this sleeve that you can put over the fistula to protect it from the elements. But you live basically a normal life. You dialyze properly, you wouldn't feel breathless. You take your epogen, so your blood count is high enough, supply oxygen to your body, so then you can do active things. You can be as I currently probably have a blood count of 13. My HB probably 13, almost 14. Last time my HB was almost too high, you know, because I eat properly and you know I'm almost off epogen, and I take epogen maybe once a week, you know. And to draw reference, usually you take 2 epogen every session. That patients who are, you know, who have less, you know, I am taking 1 epogen for the entire week, and still my blood is maintaining its level. So you gotta take care of yourself, and you can live a normal life as normal as possible. I should say.
Yeah. And I was about to ask.
I also
Go
wanted to add, I still want to advise any sports that involve tackling, like basketball or football, go on, because a lot of people out there don't really know how do I say it? Like the people who may be participating in the sports with you might not know that they're not supposed to tackle you so roughly, and you know, stuff like that. So you have to be very careful. So I would advise that. And also, if you're swimming, it's not advised for patients with the venous catheter. As we said earlier, we have to keep it clean and dry to prevent any hormone infection. So it all depends on the person, their history and their access, and you know how they feel generally, because hormone feels okay, but there are patients who do not have the strength to, you know, to continue as normal, be it with their gardening or their sports. So we have to consider the patient's individualized care.
as how active as they feel and how active as they are.
This sounds like a conversation they need to have with their doctor and their nurses about what they should and should not be doing.
Yes.
Because
It's
all
like a-
care is patient-centered care. Sometimes what may work for hormone will not work for another patient that might be hormone's age. You understand? So
Right.
yeah.
Okay. So I was gonna ask, you know, if Hormone can travel outside of Dominica, but Hormone's a regular guy, he can do whatever he wants.
Patients
Well,
can
yeah,
travel
yeah.
out of Dominica,
Travel,
yes.
Once
But
there
they
is,
have, it might be expensive because they have to pay for, like, for example, they're going to St. Lucia, they would have to pay for their treatments.
Dialysis.
Yeah, so it's gonna cost them more than it might cost them at home in sweet Dominica.
Oh, so when you're traveling, you have to consider your
Dialysis treatment,
treatment.
yes.
Oh, so
It's a must.
maybe,
Because
yeah.
3 times every week you must, or you're gonna have the side effects of your kidney not functioning.
Okay, and then
or
that's what
retaining a
yearly,
fluid overload.
Mhm.
right? And you do not want them to leave here in stable condition and go and make a bigger mess of a really tricky situation.
Yes.
I understand.
Yeah, it's a part of their life now. It's like the way you eat, you make 2 meals to 3 meals a day, you bathe every day. Dialysis is now a part of their life.
Okay, kind of like the diabetic patients who have to take the insulin every day or
Yes.
twice a day or whatever the case is.
Yes.
And people who have high blood pressure, they have to take the pills. So yes, when you're diagnosed with something, it becomes you. I totally understand.
It's just that you see the symptoms a bit quicker when you have kidney failure because, for example, I am hypertensive. If I don't take my medication one day, I might not feel as bad instantly or, for a week. I'm not advising anybody not to take the medication, please. I'm not an example. But for the patients with kidney function loss, it immediately, they might feel a change immediately when they skip, especially basically the diet, they don't adhere to the specific diet of a dialysis patient.
Especially fluid intake, that is. And they tend to get breathless very quickly, and then they'll have to be rushed through the dialysis unit. But they can travel around the country once the country they're going to has a dialysis unit functioning.
And they can afford to pay for all the treatments before.
Yes.
That is the deterrent, I can tell you.
Or you wouldn't have fun at all. You wouldn't have fun at all because I understand my fistula.
It is home
wouldn't have
Someone
fun
is a
because
man of fun. Someone is a man of living life.
the diets. If you're not going to dialyze, let's say you're going to skip a day of dialysis, then you can't drink. You gotta basically stay thirsty. So imagine you go to go on vacation and then you're not dialyzing for the week. You're there first day, you can't drink juice or whatever. You cannot eat the nice food. You cannot eat the nice food. Maybe you can drink a little thing, but you can't drink like you want to drink. And you cannot eat the food you want to eat because you're afraid you might be toxic. So you need to get organized for dialysis. You wouldn't die, if you spend like a week on dialysis, but you have to be on a very strict diet. It's not pleasant.
So this is our travel agent for dialysis patients there. So you have to take your advice from him. So if you're going to travel, please ensure that you have the funds and that you make preparations with the dialysis unit where you're heading to so that you do not experience any of these issues that our panel here explained. This has been a very informative session. I've learned so much. One scared me a few times, but I've learned so much. Now that you have formed this dialysis association, it's new. It's exciting for me because the information I received while being in contact with you all for the past time. I will stay here. I did not know. So now I've learned so much, and I can even educate my peers, and we can have conversations about it. Now, what is the Dialysis Association? What's your aim, and how do you plan to show the dialysis patient support? What is your goal? What are you trying to do? What is it this new association aims to achieve, and how do you plan to assist and support the patients that will come under your association?
Mr. President, Mr. Vice President.
But this association, our mission basically is to help to offer some support for our dialysis patients. But we also want to educate the public to lessen the stigma and discrimination attached to dialysis and to increase the general public's knowledge of the entire process, and so they can understand what is dialysis, and as well to teach the public how they can take care of themselves to protect their kidneys and that they can prevent chronic kidney failure. And even those who are in some stage of kidney failure, we try to offer them the tools of diet so that they can maybe even try to at least maintain that level of that stage, or maybe try to reverse some of it, some of the effects of the kidney failure. You will find that the patients really need the support financially a lot. We try to respond. We try to all right now we are organizing a raffle of a 55-inch Samsung television, smart TV. So we're urging the public to please support our cause.
How much are the tickets?
They'll only be $10 for a 55-inch smart TV.
And where can we find the ticket?
We are now printing them. We have already sent them for printing. Next week we'll be receiving the tickets. Next week we will be partner with you guys at the credit union. So
Yes.
it will be
Correct,
Wednesday
correct.
and Friday. Wednesday
Friday.
it will be at
In Portsmouth branch.
Portsmouth branch.
Yes.
and
correct.
when Friday we will
Friday.
be in
Goodwill.
In
right?
Goodwill.
Yeah.
So we'll
Yes.
have tickets available.
So you can get your tickets there, or you can reach out. Right. So, or you can reach out to any of the dialysis patients who are members of the association or any of the members of the executive and get your tickets. Okay. So please support the cause. We have a doctor coming down next week to do some fistulas for the patients, and we're trying to respond for all those things here, So please support the patients. They gotta buy, like I explained, they gotta buy medications.
Epogen.
You gotta buy all these supplements that you need to take.
Sometimes
Those
even
make sense to show.
money for transportation. Some patients don't have to come
Some
to
patients live as
dialysis.
far as
Carrick territory.
and so Carrick territory and so on. And then just coming down for dialysis is $20 or whatever the bus fare is right now.
Meal for the
And
day, sometimes.
meals and so on. So it is a costly venture, although the government is doing a terrific job in lowering the cost as much as possible. It is still expensive to be on dialysis. So we ask the public, we plead to the public to support us in our mission and assist us in bringing some joy and some comfort to the dialysis patients and their families.
While we educate.
Yes.
Very good, very well. So we will support. I will buy my ticket. I better win that TV. I buy my ticket for my support behind the Dialysis Association. Now, this question is for my nurse champions here with us tonight. What is the difference between a nurse working on a ward compared to a nurse working in the dialysis unit?
Okay, well, to begin, the nurses on the ward versus the nurses in dialysis that we are, the patients don't stay in the dialysis unit. They don't sleep over. They're outpatients. They come in for their treatment and they go home when their treatment is done. And those on the ward, however, they are inpatients and they are there from the time they're admitted, when they're treated, and then they get discharged. We at the dialysis unit, we will set up the patient when they come, check their blood pressure, check their blood sugar, whatever that we need to do for them during the dialysis session, before and after when they discharge, but they go home. So we will monitor them during their session after we set them up. And once they're disconnected and we discharge them, they go to their home. But the nurses on the ward, the patients are there with them. They'll leave the patients there and go home.
Okay. All right.
Another difference is the turnover of patients on the ward. Usually patients get discharged, and I might not see that patient maybe a few years down the line, but every week we see our patients, they go and they come. So we develop that professional relationship with them, and that trust. So that's a difference, another difference as well.
And then you become family.
Yes, the relationship is different.
It's different. It is different. We keep it professional, but it's different.
I understand.
Yes.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for informing us and educating us so well about dialysis and the renal disease and hemodialysis. And oh my goodness, it was a wealth of information. We really appreciate it. Do you have any final comments that you would like to share with the listening public? Maybe if you want to tell them about the raffle again, that's okay. You want to tell them when you'll be at our branch locations as well, that's okay. And any final comments you want to tell us about your association, if you're asking for help, because you never know who's listening, you never know who's following, you never know who will share this live. What do you want to tell the public as your final comment?
Okay, well, first of all, I would like to thank Mrs. Lauren Henderson-Reed for partnering with the Dialysis Association and having us come on here to inform the general public. That I am, not only I, but the whole team executive, we are really grateful for that opportunity. So support this credit union, all who's listening, go and make an account, and get going in business.
Yes, 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 yes.
And our
Also,
tickets, yeah.
Also, by our raffle will be at the branch on the 23rd of this month in Goodwill and on the 21st in Portsmouth. So the Portsmouth,
21st, yes.
you can come out to get a little more information if what you heard here from us that you need to get more information about, and we will explain to you what we can.
Oh, yeah. We'll also be doing blood pressure checks and sugar checks. As we said, that these are the two most common causes of renal or kidney disease. So, we can, sometimes that's where you find out that you have high blood pressure or diabetes. And any other questions concerning renal disease or dialysis? We also will sell in t-shirts at this table. So come and get your t-shirts to support you. That could also go to a patient in need of transportation, sometimes a meal. You never know.
The prices of the shirt so they can come with the money when they're coming.
How much is it? $40?
Yes,
$40.
Yes, $40.
May I add as well, anybody wanting to reach us to get advice or to donate
Support.
anything you would want to reach us about, our number is 316-2920. 316-2920. So you can reach us at this number, and we're happy to listen to you or to partner with you in any way to help our patients or to help you get more education about the process of dialysis or kidney failure in general. Thank you.
Thank you.
Remember, take care of yourselves, go to your health centers, your regular checkups. Okay, help yourself to help the nurses.
Yes, and also educate yourself, because we have the internet. I mean, not everything on the internet is good or credible,
Accurate.
but at the same time, if you're being told that you're hypertensive, you're diabetic, and you're given medication, educate yourself about the condition, what you can do. You can exercise to prevent the final stage or the later stages of this condition. We can change your diet so that it will help to improve your health, because our health is our wealth. We need to take control of our health before we reach to that stage. It's not always about we talking about dialysis. We are here educating you about dialysis, but then the road which leads to dialysis, which is end-stage renal disease, it can be avoided if we take our health in control, take control of our health. Okay?
And to add to Eliza's point, something that came to my mind, renal disease in its early stages, in the acute stages, can be reversed. It's in the end stages that it cannot be reversed. So if you are in the early stages of renal disease, you can, as you were saying, diet change, exercise can help to reverse this illness or this disease. Do not wait until you are stage 4, stage 5 to want to try. No, it has to begin in the early stage.
Yes, definitely. And I would always advise people who ask me, people who ask me about kidney failure, how it started and whatever. I advise them at least, I know food nice and so on, I like food myself, but at least every 3 to 4 months, try to go on a little diet where you put meat aside, you put all those carbohydrates, all the sugar and so on aside, and give your body a cleanse. Give the organs, not just the kidney, but all the organs a chance. Give your body a break to recuperate, to revitalize, and so on. Like Christmas coming. Maybe November, after the independence season and everything. Take a break. So by Christmas time, it's a little pork, a little beef. Your cholesterol wouldn't go to the sky. Your pressure wouldn't go to the sky because you give the body a little break. Please.
Thank you, Harmon. He makes it so relatable. It's, Christmas coming, give yourself a little break so you can eat the pork and the beef. This was a very informative session. I want to thank you, Nurse Collier, Nurse Francis Loda, and our champion patient, Mr. Gist. Thank you so much for giving us your time, for educating our followers, the listeners.
You're
and
welcome.
For just letting this be, it was just a warm environment to discuss and to educate. And I just want to thank you for your time. Thank you so much. And I look forward to seeing you at the branch next week, where we'll be doing all the different tests and educating of the members in branch and raffling our tickets and selling our shirt. It will be a session. Our partnership is going to be one for the book. So thank you for viewers, and thank you for your time, panelists. And I say good evening to everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Central is online.
Central is online. What? Central's online?
Granny, Central is online.
Central is online. Central Online, your digital member experience. Stay on top of your finances with Central Online today. View your account balances, pay your bills, apply for loans, do money transfer with Central Online today.
Central is online.
Central is online. That's great.
Central is online.
Central Co-operative Credit Union Limited is online. Welcome to Central Online, your digital member experience. Go to online.myccul.com. To log in, enter login ID and password. Click I am not a robot and log in. To transfer funds within your accounts, click Transfer Fund. To transfer to another member, click Member to Member Transfer. To pay a bill, click Bill Payment. To apply for loans, click Loan Application. Need more information? Click the FAQs link or call 235-2228 or 235-5208 or email us online at myccul.com.